Hello my students, how are you? Today we will talk about functions. What is a function? A function is a predefined formula that performs calculations using specific values in a particular order. Is a predefined formula that performs calculation using values in a particular order. Okay, what's the main function of functions? What's the main function of functions? The main function of functions perform arithmetic operations very quickly. Okay, Excel includes many common functions such as sum functions, average, count, maximum value, and minimum value. We can use this function for a range of cells. A function such as average, sum, count contain parts. What's main parts of the function? What's the main part of the function? Equal sign, function name, and argument. Any function must contain equal sign, function name, and argument. For example, let's have the following data in cells A17, A26, A35, A48, A59, A63, A72, A81. Okay, I want to find the sum of the cells from A1 cell to A8 cell by using functions. What's the function for finding sum of cells? The function is the sum. Okay, I want to write a function. Reminder, any function must begin with equal sign and function name. Function name is sum. Practice, argument from A1 colons from keyboard, A8 cells range from A1 to A8, then click enter. The result is 41. We used sum function to find the sum of the cells range from A1 to A8. Okay, what's the main function of the sum? This function adds all of the values of the cells in argument from A1 to A8. Okay. If we want to find the average of cells from A1 to A8, what's the appropriate function to use? if we want to find the average from A1 to A8, what's the appropriate function to use? We must use the average function. Average function determines the average of the values included in the argument. Average function calculates the sum of the cells and then divides the value by the number of cells in argument. Average function determines the average of the values included in the argument. Also calculates the sum of the cells and then divides that values by the number of cells in the argument. Equal average argument from A1 colons to A8, then click enter. The result by using average function 5.125. I want to enter text data in A9 cells. For example, Qara, enter Ahmad, enter number 2, I'm sorry, like okay. If you are asked to find just the number of numeric cells, what is the appropriate function to use? Just the number of numeric cells. What's the appropriate function to use? We must use count function. Count function used to count the number of cells with numerical data in the argument. The number of cells with numerical data in the argument. A count function is useful for quickly counting items in a cell range. For example, I want to find the number of cells with numerical data. I want to use count function. Here equal sign count practice from A1 to A11. Then click enter. The result is 8. This is number 8. Is the number of cells that contain numerical data only. A count function counted only in numeric cells and excludes cells with text data. Count function excludes cells from A8 to A11 because these cells contain text. Okay, if we want to find the largest number among existing numbers, what's the appropriate function to use? If we want to find the largest number among existing numbers, what's the appropriate function to use? We can use max function. This function determines the highest cell value. This function or max function determines the highest cell values included in the argument. Highest cell value included in the argument. I want to use a max function to find the highest value among the numbers from cell A1 to cell A8 equal max function, function name max, practice, argument from A1 columns A8, then click enter. The highest value using the max function is number 9. Okay, if we want to find the lowest value among the existing number, what's the appropriate function to use? Lowest value, what's the appropriate function to use? We can use min function to find the lowest value. This function, min function, determines the lowest cell value included in the argument. For example, I want to find the lowest value between cells from cell A1 to A9 equal sign, function name min, practice from A1 colons A8, then click enter. The lowest value in cells is the number 1 by using min function. All of these function sum, count, average, min, max can be obtained from the editing group by clicking on the arrow next to the sum icon from here. Okay, what's the appropriate function to convert -2 to the positive value? -2 from negative value to the positive value. We can use absolute function. Absolute function equal ABS, function name, practice, argument, for example A10, then click enter. We notice that the absolute value function converted the -2 from a negative value to a positive value, from -2 to 2. I want to insert 2 rows. Okay, now we will talk about count a function. Count a function. We can use count a function to count the number of non-empty cells in a range. Number of non-empty cells in a range. Count a function count cells that have numbers and any other characters in them. I want to use count a function to count the number of non-empty cell equal count a brackets from A1 cells range from A1 to A11 columns A11, then click enter. The number of non-empty cells in range from A1 to A11 is 9. There are many functions that Excel contains and aren't limited to the function we used today.